songs, let me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc, where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
It was really about building partnerships that either already existed in the community or were brand new. You are networking, you're reaching out, you're thinking and creating these ideas, these programs, things you'd love to see in the community, and trying to make them happen, but also at the same time trying to keep a pulse on what the people want and what the community is interested in.
All right, we are live again. This is Craig LeBlanc with the Daily Parks and Rec Show. This is our leadership series, our oldest running show where we find leaders in the Parks and Rec space and get to highlight their journey into Parks and Rec, what Parks and Recreation means to them. And then after that, we kind of dive a little into what they do, what their day-to-day looks like. And hopefully they can share something valuable with the rest of the Parks and Rec industry of America, because this is, as we know, one of the most collaborative industries. And if somebody's doing something well, they typically have no problem sharing the roadmap that it took to get them to where they are today. And so we are definitely a copying industry, and I love that. I love how there's just a lot of humility in Parks and Rec, because we're really just all trying to serve our individual communities and make sure nobody gets left out. And so I think that's a big purpose of what we do with the leadership series. This is a Monday through Thursday show. So let me run through all the different shows we have. So we have Leadership Series, which is still the show that I host Monday through Thursday, 12 noon Eastern time. And then on Fridays, Papa Jay picked up that Friday 12 noon time slot for the Director Pepper Club. And it is just a very strong network of California directors. Plus, Jonathan Skinner just has an amazing network of directors, some that are retired, but really at the top of their game. And so, but it's kind of more of a fun social show. And so really looking forward to that. That's actually our latest show that we just recently launched. Okay, so then let's go to our 1:30 time slot. We're pretty much filled that time slot every day of the week. Today we have a special guest right after this show. The CEO and the son of the founder of Outdoor Link is coming on the show. And so I really can't wait for Dave Ramirez to interview DJ, who's kind of running that whole operation. It's kind of an honor to have one of the guys that's helping pay the bills over here. So that's typically on the second and fourth Monday of every month. We do the Smart Parks Forward, hosted by Dave Ramirez. Then that brings us to Tuesday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, every Tuesday since the first Tuesday of 2026. John Prue has started On the Front Line, the Military Rec Show. So if you know anybody that does Parks and Rec in the military, this is the show for you. John just has an amazing network of Parks and Rec professionals that work on our military bases to run over essentially 300 Parks and Rec departments on the bases. Then that brings us to Wednesday. We produce two shows with the help of Henry County, Georgia, and Thomas White. First Wednesday of every month, it's all about, it's called Safe Spaces and Green Spaces. And we talk about mental health and the role that Parks and Rec plays in that. Then on the second Wednesday of every month, we had a great show actually last week with Brian Dixon over with Henry County, Georgia. So imagine if a very well-run Parks and Rec department pulled back the curtain on pick a topic in Parks and Rec, and you had all the leaders that maybe ran festivals or special events or master planning or facilities maintenance crews and that kind of stuff. And so you really get to see how a Parks and Rec department handles in detail a lot of the things that we do in Parks and Rec. And that brings us to Thursday. Our oldest running show, aside from this one, is the Youth Sports Mastery Show with host Aaron Locks, who spent 40 years in rec sports coaching as an athlete himself. So he gets some of the best coaches, pro athletes. What's that other title that's slipping my mind? Athletics directors in Parks and Rec. And that show is so booked that we're actually probably going to have to open up a second show just on youth sports, because youth sports is a big lift as far as what people perceive Parks and Rec is. A lot of times they think of the baseball field with the coaches and the parents and all that kind of stuff. So that whole show is dedicated to that. Then on Thursday evenings, 5 p.m., if you are a young professional in the industry of parks and recreation, this is the show for you. And this goes all the way to even if you're a student, if you're an intern, if it's your first 1 to 5 years in parks and rec, but also if you run an internship program or you're a professor or a mentor of the next generation of young professionals coming into this industry, that's the show for you. And that's every Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. And then that brings us to Friday at that 1:30 time slot. We have Wesley King producing weekly content all on aquatics. And all of those shows are amazing. They're very educational. It's really evergreen content so that you can just go pick one of the, I think, 10 shows we've produced so far with Wesley. Anyone in aquatics, I promise you're going to get something out of every show we've produced so far with them. So it can really be almost like a continuing education content library for everyone in aquatics. And then we're steadily filling up our 3 p.m. time slot. I had to kind of open up the calendar because we ran out of space at the 12 and the 1:30. And so we've got 2 new shows launching in June. So be looking out for that. In addition to our newsletters and a lot of the other stuff that we're doing to help get the word out about what goes on in Parks and Rec. But today we have a special guest, Hannah from South Middleton Township, Pennsylvania. So we get to hear from those great voices in Pennsylvania. They're doing a lot of good stuff over in that state. And I think Hannah's one of them. We're going to talk a lot about programming. They have 2 award-winning programs, and we'll get to share a lot about that. But before we get started, Jovi, why don't you go ahead and run our transition and our newest commercial for the Friday Aquatics Life show. We just launched that last week, so you'll get to see that, followed by a promotion for Outdoor Link, who the CEO of it's coming on right after this. So Jovi, why don't you go to run those 2, and then we'll come right back and start our conversation with Hannah.
It's not just water. It's responsibility. It's leadership. It's not just drowning prevention or water safety. It's life. And every day, aquatics professionals make decisions that save lives. Because aquatics is more than swim lessons. It's community. It's creativity. It's impact. For over 30 years, aquatics hasn't just been my profession. It's been my life. I've seen the challenges, the pressure, the grind, but I've also seen the power of great leadership and what happens when communities come together. This is where education meets entertainment, where real conversations happen, where aquatics professionals come together to learn, lead, and grow. Because aquatics should bring people together. This is Aquatics Life, streaming on DPRS Media Network.
All right, Hannah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a Monday. How about you?
Yeah, well, we had a great weekend. Here in New Orleans, it's starting to get a little bit hotter. But, we've learned to deal with it. So, all right, so let's go kind of back into who you were as a child coming into Parks and Rec. Were you exposed at all to Parks and Recreation, or did you kind of discover this career later in life?
I was exposed, but I was also still very scared of nature. So I grew up camping, going to playground, summer camp, all of that. And my oldest brother, we have a 14-year age gap, and his bachelor's is in Parks and Recreation. So that's kind of how I got exposed to that. He fell into it at college, but I went into college knowing I wanted to work in the field, just having no idea what I wanted to do.
Okay, so you were one of those college kids that just was at a loss for what do you want to dedicate your life to? And so were you able to eventually move into a degree that kind of steered you a little more towards Parks and Rec?
Yeah, so my degree is recreation management.
Mhm.
So I originally thought that I wanted to work with seniors in like a retirement home, not so much a nursing home. And I wound up doing an internship, and it was a great experience, but it was not for me at
Mm.
all. Um, and so then I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I thought maybe I wanted to work in the National Park Service. Doing what? I had no idea. Like maybe being a ranger, being education. I had no idea. And I started applying for internships after my sophomore year of college. And I wound up getting this internship at a nature center in the county I was from in Pennsylvania. And I was very excited. I had no expectations. And so my brain never thought that they had animal ambassadors and I would have to care for said animal ambassadors.
Ah.
And like I said, I grew up camping. We went to lots of national parks. I respected nature. However, I did not like bugs. I did not like anything that was scaly, slimy, anything like that. And so I really had to work that summer on growing out of my comfort zone and handling these snakes and turtles and toads and things like that for our field trips and our summer camp kiddos. And I went back my junior year and I still had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew that like I was in recreation management. I wanted to do something in it, but I still hadn't felt like I had found what I wanted to do. And I think that was kind of true until probably like 2021 when I landed a job in municipal government and things just kind of clicked of all my passions. I was able to kind of mold them all together and start doing programming that really suited me and my passions, but also benefited our community. So it was kind of a journey, and I just kind of took some chances on some internship opportunities and things like that, but really didn't know what I wanted to do in the field for a majority of my college
Mm.
career.
Now, back then, did you have any idea? Like, I love how you kind of dipped your toe with the seniors and then you went with the creatures of Parks and Rec, all the different animals and stuff. What were you kind of looking for? Did you have any idea whether you wanted to work with kids or sports or any other type of programming to kind of get you where you are today?
Yeah, so at like the root of it, my passion was community engagement and
Oh, nice.
building communities and like helping communities through parks and recreation. And that's a really great thing to love and to want to do. But how do you classify that into a job? I love my professors, but even they were kind of at a head scratcher a lot of times to like figure out or help me figure out a route, because most of my classmates, they went into therapeutic recreation. They did something with fitness, whether that was personal training, working with youth athletes, college athletes, things like that. Or they went into tourism, cruise ships, hotels, hospitality, things like that. Or the last category was they went strictly kind of into the outdoor realm and they became maybe guides, like hiking, rafting, things like that. And there were people that meshed some of that stuff together. So, like, I knew people that meshed adaptive recreation with outdoor recreation and worked at camps that served veterans or children with disabilities, things like that. But it was like my pieces never fit into any one category well. And so the best recommendation that I got was just to start taking classes in all of those categories
Mm.
and just kind of become well rounded and just hope that I would find somewhere that it would all mesh together. And we didn't really talk a lot about municipal government, so I didn't really know that was an option. And so when I fell into it, it kind of felt like a lot of pieces clicked for me of that passion, because you do get to work with smaller communities sometimes, depending where you go, and you can really bring communities together through your events and your services and your programs and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny how when you mention, or when you ask a Parks and Rec professional or director and say, why do you do this? Why do you dedicate your life to Parks and Rec? And so many times the answer is, I get to build community. And it's crazy that the college, what do you call the person that's kind of advising you when you go through college?
Your like advisor. I think
Yeah.
it's just your
Yeah, I think
advisor.
it's your advisor, that they really don't have that top of mind, and to be able to notice, hey, this person, Hannah, wants to be able to serve and build community. And maybe it doesn't even click for them that there's an entire profession that's 100% of what they do. They just build community. Where
Yeah.
did that come from, your kind of desire to build community?
I don't know. I feel like I had a very strong community between my family and my church community growing up. We were very involved in that. I did play rec softball my entire childhood, all through high school.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, and that was like I played with the same group of girls pretty much from age 5 to 17. I mean,
Wow.
one of my teammates was a bridesmaid in my wedding. Like I've known her since we were 5. We're 29 now. So it really built up these friendships, and we really moved through girlhood together, really every stage up until we kind of all scattered for college. But so I had these communities that were, I would say, like isolated from each other. Like they never really shared people or things like that, but there was just like this community and all this love and things like that. And I just looked around and really felt like there was a lot you could do to build communities and to help tackle topics or issues within your community through play and through using your spaces that your community already owns. So I'm a big advocate for looking at your parks or your open spaces and using them in different ways to get people to come out to them. So, if historically they're really only coming for the playground, but you have these walking trails or you have disc golf or things like that, what's kind of unique programming that you can do to get people out into that space and to see it in a new light? Because I think a lot of people just think of very specific things when they think of your park. So they think, I go there and I play pickleball, or I go there and I walk on the trail, not really thinking that you can go there and do a lot of other things in that space. And so I've just always really loved that idea of looking at what's already in the community and kind of building off of it to better benefit those around you. And in this role, those that you're now serving.
Yeah. All right. So let's try to help out those professors a little bit as they have an endless stream of Hannahs coming through, as they advise young college kids as to what direction they might want to take. How would you define community building for those that really aren't in the Parks and Rec industry and have no idea what it's all about? How would you help maybe define building community for the professors?
I think for me, through my personal experiences, it would be using the resources available to you, whether that is, monetary or that is your spaces, and providing some sort of activity, enrichment, opportunity, something for people to come and learn and experience and grow as individuals. So that could really be anything. That could just be coming and having children work on fine motor skills through something that you're offering, or that could be providing a safe space for, if you have a lake or something, people to come and to learn how to kayak that maybe have been really scared to try that, but you're offering this safe environment for them to experience that. So I think it's really using what you already have when you look at a community and looking at what you can do with that and kind of get creative, think outside the box, but offer those activities, programs, opportunities, whatever you want to call them, to help your community individually grow, but as a whole, then they'll start to grow and have a more positive outlook.
Right. Right. And I love how you kind of highlighted that you were made friends from fifth grade all the way to 17, and that you even had some of these friends that you made stand in your wedding. And a lot of times we often think of rec sports as the community builder everybody knows about. But what are some of the other ways that you have found also builds community in some of the other activity that goes on in Parks and Rec?
I definitely think our early childhood programs that we do, so whether that's preschool or that's kindergarten through third grade, also teen programs and activities. And a lot of times that looks like teaching them skills that they might not be getting in a traditional classroom. They might not be involved in certain activities, whether they're even available to them. So, things like cooking and crafting, crocheting, things like that. Um, but also just offering those safe spaces. So even if it's just a pop-up where it's not really planned, a pop-up program where like you don't really have it planned, you might advertise it, but you're out in the park and you have something going on, whether that's something like Chalk the Park, where you just are out there with sidewalk chalk and people can write positive messages for each other, or they can draw pictures or things like that. For me, it's just having those moments and like those spaces for your community to show up and to participate, whether it's targeted towards an age group, it's targeted towards family, however you do that, plan versus popped up, or like registration versus pop up, just show up. So I think that's like a big one. A free one too is, using any type of walking path or trail or anything like that, and offering walking groups or meditation or sensory hikes or things like that are a way to use your community and the tools that you have that are beyond just rec sports. Because like you said, I do think that's the most identifiable one. But when you're talking about the community and you're talking about reaching as many people as you can, you really have to look outside the scope and look at who's in your community, where they're at. So are they like close to your parks? Are they close to your spaces? When they're coming, what are they doing? What's their interest? And where are the gaps that maybe we could fill in and provide these opportunities?
Yeah. All right. So now you've got your full-time job, kind of, you think in the space that you want. What were some of those early tasks that you were given when you're, I guess, officially in this community building role?
Yeah. Well, my first full-time job in municipal government, I was really the first one in my position to have this really melting pot background, this background of outdoor education, some adaptive recreation, just everything you could think of. I probably had a sliver of experience in that. And so the community that I came into, the first task was just getting word out there that we were providing these different programs that were geared towards the outdoors. They were geared towards incorporating STEAM elements. They were geared towards preschoolers, getting people active, getting people moving in non-traditional ways. So one of the earliest programs I did was, I don't even remember what I called it, but it was a preschool movement program based off of weather. And so getting them to move their body and these ribbons, like tornadoes and rain showers and a really fast rain shower. It was a whole thing. It was quite noisy. That I was not expecting that.
I bet.
But so that first role, the tasks were putting out marketing information, going to school events, going to community events, tabling, to just kind of get the information out there of the new programs we were offering, the new audiences we were trying to reach. It was really about building partnerships that either already existed in the community or were brand new. So I wound up building a partnership with National Park Service. There was a Civil War battlefield near us. And we got to table at their event, and then they were coming out to like some of our programs to offer resources, do historical Civil War period games with children, things like that. So it was a lot of that background work where you are networking, you're reaching out, you're thinking and creating these ideas, these programs, things you'd love to see in the community, and trying to make them happen, but also at the same time trying to keep a pulse on what the people want and what the community is interested in. And so it was a lot. It was a lot of emails, a lot of going to businesses, meeting with people face to face, talking with patrons as they came into the facility, just hearing what people had to say, what they wanted to see, and then hearing from those potential partners, like what they wanted to see if we worked with them. And so when I first started, it was a lot of that background work. And then a few months in, it was then running all these programs. And so I think this was crazy. Please don't ever do this. But in the first summer I was there, so June, July, and August, 3 months, it was like 86 or 88 public programs planned.
Wow. For that year?
For that year.
Wow.
And just for those 3 months. And like, it was totally insane. They all didn't run because, people didn't sign up for everything. But I was really burnt out. And it was a really hot summer, and a lot of my programs were outdoors. But there was a lot of really cool things I got to do. But like I said, if you are a young programmer, please do not ever max yourself out like that, because that was really insane. But we did it, and it was great. But that's kind of what my first job looked like in the field.
Yeah, because in programming, it's not always that more is better. Maybe you want to so what would be your advice to kind of maybe pick your front runners that are well attended and find a way to maybe expand those, and then, maybe not have so much diversity so that you can run programs well rather than just having a lot of not so well attended programs?
Yeah. And I would also say though, like if there's something you're really passionate about or you think would really benefit the community, maybe still offer it or try it out, even if it's, not as well attended or things like that. You can have a program grow, but if you don't ever try it, or you just try it once and never bring it back up or never modify it to try and re-offer it, you might miss a community of people. But yes, like really focus on what is doing well, what is having great participation. For me in that role, my program that kept like filling up and selling out was archery, but I didn't have like an outdoor space to do it. So I was battling gym time. So I had to get like really creative on ways that I could maybe offer more of it, because there was so much public interest in that program. And I could only take a maximum of, I think, 12 participants. And it was a 2-hour class. And I had to wait until the gym was relatively empty. So it wasn't really like I could do a 2-hour class, take a 30-minute break, and run another 2-hour class in the evening. The timeline just didn't work.
Right.
So I think, but there's definitely like passion projects that I've had that have not always been well attended, but have grown. And that might just be because I was persistent and kind of just kept pushing it through. I don't know if just different days, different times wound up working for some families, different things like that. It's really hard to know in programming, which I think is a big challenge of like, you never really know the reason why people aren't coming. You don't know if it's an interest thing, if it's the location, the time, the price. Sometimes you can figure that information out, but a lot of times you really don't. And you're just sometimes left wondering why, because it sounded like a great program and maybe the feedback was really great, but literally no one signed up. It can be really hard to like wrap your head around that.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of it is seems like it's just almost experimentation.
Yeah.
And because sometimes you think that you know what you want to do, you have your own passion project and you want to launch this successful program, but maybe you're the only person in the community that wants it. And so you kind of have to, how do you kind of stay connected to the community itself, getting their feedback and get them involved into the types of programming y'all offer?
For me, it's always just been really casual. I have not been anywhere yet that has done like a community-wide survey
Mm,
specifically connected to like their Parks and Rec department or agency. And so it's really just those like one-off conversations you have if you're in a community center with the patrons. For me, when I'm running programs, it's like talking to the parents or the caregiver who are showing up and
mm,
bringing their children. Um, for teens, I just try and go right to the teens. Like I
mm.
bypass the parent, bypass anything else because teens and tweens in every community, I feel like are different and they just have the best pulse on what they're interested in, what's popular,
Mm.
um, things like that. So for me, it has just always been that casual, usually face to face conversation. Occasionally, I have gotten emails with suggestions, recommendations, things like that. But it's really just all that conversation that turns into feedback. Um, so yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
how I've been. I would love to be somewhere that does something formal and like has a survey or something. But those are very complex and challenging as well to initiate and to go through the results. So I also
Yeah.
understand why not a lot of people do them or why they're done kind of infrequently.
Yeah. Yeah. I have somebody I think I can connect you with that helps cities, I guess, communicate with their community and kind of get their input. She's been kind of
Okay.
helping Parks and Rec departments engage with their community because, yeah, getting community engagement is a tricky one. It's because sometimes your best contributors are kind of quiet, and so you almost have to
Yeah.
kind of pull it out of them. Um, but that would be good for the teens. Okay, so we already blew past our halfway point. Let me go ahead and run some promos, and then we'll come back. And I did want to dig into a little of your why before we get into kind of what you
Okay.
do
Yeah.
when we get back. But okay, so today we would like to give a big shout out and special thanks to Outdoor Link. And the CEO is coming on the next show right after this, so I can't wait to chat with him. They're a really good company that's helping cities become smart cities. And so if you want to connect your infrastructure to the World Wide Web and be able to control all your infrastructure on a cell phone or a mobile device or a desktop, this is exactly what Outdoor Link does. So they can help you control your splash pads, your baseball field lights, your bathroom door locks. They do a great job doing it. Um, so we'll run a promo for them, tell you a little bit more. And if you want to know more, hit me up on LinkedIn and I'll get you in touch with Dave and his team. And the next one is the National Academy of Athletics. And so if you are a department that has programs that your community wants, but you're really not geared up for, let's say, volleyball or pickleball or flag football or anything like that, or lacrosse, that you can actually partner with them and they'll run these programs for you. So you just kind of keep the facilities going, but they provide the coaching, the staff, the t-shirts, like they do it all turnkey. And so they partner with a ton of communities throughout the country to do that. So, Jovi, why don't you go ahead and run those two promos, and when we come back, we'll finish up our conversation with Hannah.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the daily Parks and Rec show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
They say it's just rec. Just rec, where kids learn to try again. Just rec, where confidence begins. Where teamwork, effort, and fun matter more than trophies. It's not about perfection. It's about participation. It's not just rec. It's where kids learn to love the game and themselves. It's just rec until they learn teamwork for life. It's just rec, but it's everything to them. It's more than rec. It's a movement. It's just rec until you realize it's shaping the next generation. Together, we're not just running programs, we're building a culture of confidence, connection, and community. Join us.
All right, so let's dig a little into your why. Why have you chosen to continue to dedicate your life to parks and recreation, and kind of what does this mean to you?
For me, it's really the people. We have I think one of the greatest opportunities to influence those in our community through fun, through play, through our green spaces, and we can influence and help shape who they become. So for our children, for our teens, tweens, young adults, it's our future leaders. We're having a hand in shaping them by giving them these experiences. And it's really, for me, it's really all about that. It's about getting them to see the world around them in a new way through recreational opportunities. So seeing and caring about our environment and our green spaces and our parks through the experiences that they have personally had. And I just think that that really helps build fundamental individuals. And so yeah, for me, at the heart of it, it's always been about the people. It's always been about providing them with these opportunities to learn and grow and hopefully help have a hand in shaping them. And hopefully, somewhere down the road, shaping future leaders. Like when I'm older, I'm really hoping one day I get to be like, I had that kid in this program and, and like now they're running for Congress or something really wild. But just like the smaller things too, like I hope the people that I serve, the little ones, that the tiny humans grow into teachers and educators, and they go out and, they get to continue it. So that is really at the root of it for me. That's why I keep doing it, even on the days that it feels like the TV show Parks and Recreation, where people are just coming up to you and you're kind of like, I don't know how to help you on some of those really random requests. And after like the long hour, 12, 13-hour days where you have programs and you do movie in the parks and you're not getting home till like 11:30, midnight, it's what motivates me. Why I keep getting up is the people.
Man, that's such a good answer, Hannah. Good job. It's almost like you've been in Parks and Rec for like 40 years.
It feels like it sometimes.
Yes. How long have you been in Parks and Rec so far?
Full time, right around 5 years. Wow. And then I had about 2 years of seasonal work where I was working probably like a solid 7-8 months out of the year and only having off like 4 months. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to sit here and think that. It's like the time has just flown, honestly.
Yeah, that was such it's if I didn't know any better, I would think you had been in Parks and Rec for several decades. It's such a good answer, and you were able to summarize the impact that community has. Excuse me, that Parks and Rec has on their community. Maybe that's why you've helped to launch and run some award-winning programs. You seem to have a good understanding of it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the two award-winning programs that you kind of have had exposure to.
Yeah. Well, the first, I love them both so much, but one I created from scratch and one I inherited and was fortunate to run with. So from scratch, I created this preschool program called Wiggle Worms, and really fun name. I had read, I think someone in Ohio had done something like similar with naming or something like that. Really stuck with me, loved it, thought it was super fun. And the whole idea behind that was we're going to introduce our preschool families to our parks in a new way. And so I was in Virginia at the time, and where I was, most people only came to our parks to go to the playgrounds or to go fishing. And I was like, we have all of these, toddlers and younger children in our communities, and they're only coming and spending maybe 20, 30 minutes on our playground, which is great, but why aren't they using our parks for anything else? And so the program was geared towards the preschoolers, but parents had to stay and they did the activities with us, because I felt like if they were involved, they would be more inclined to kind of care about the parks, to pay attention, things like that. And each session, we did it in a 4-week session at different parks. Each session had a different theme. And so I would partner with our local library. We would borrow materials from them. And they had this really cool opportunity that if you had a library card, you could go and you could check out this backpack, and it had beginner guides for things like birding, plant identification, mammals in Virginia, in that area, all of that. It had binoculars and it had a few other things, but to me, the best part was it had a state park pass in it. And Virginia charges for state parks. So for free, you could go and check out this wonderful resource, get into the parks for free, and get your kids out in nature. And so I really worked with them to make families aware of that through this program and kind of through that partnership. And so we focused on the natural things of the lesson. We focused on incorporating sensory elements. At every park, we did some sort of activity that got them up and moving around the parks past the pavilion. So, sometimes it was we did a sensory walk, and they would find something spiky for me, something smooth. Sometimes it was going out and collecting insects that don't sting or don't hurt. And you would be surprised by how excited they were to just collect an ant, like that you see in your driveway. It blew their minds to see it up close in these cases. So we would just do different activities like that. And that wound up winning Best New Program at Virginia's Parks and Recreation Society one year. And I've talked about it in other groups in Virginia. I actually just had a call last week about it. Someone had told someone else that they remembered I did this program, and he was looking to do something unique to their community and revamp their preschool programming. So I just talked to him for an hour about that program and other programs. But it just was really a special program. And it was really cool to take to city council and to kind of justify some of those things that they didn't always understand in the budget, like why trail maintenance was important and why we needed to maintain these areas of the parks beyond just the playground and the pavilions and things like that. So that will always have a special place in my heart. It was a really fun program. And it really grew as well in terms of population. And we had a lot of families that didn't come every week. They just came to 1 or 2 sessions. So it was a rotating door of families, which was really cool. Got to meet a lot of people in our community and kind of hear a lot of that. Oh, I didn't know this park was here. Oh, I didn't know the city owned this park or took care of this park or things like that. So really put into perspective that our community really did not know our parks that well. So that was a great one. We ran that in spring, summer, and fall in like the 4-week sessions usually. And in the morning time we ran that. And then the second program, the one that I inherited, was a therapeutic recreation program. Also in Virginia, AJ McCage, if anyone's ever heard of her, she had started this program during her time there and really built up this community of individuals with disabilities, but those without, that came and supported and helped bring this program off the ground. And we wound up winning 2 awards for that program while I was there, because like I said, I was given a program that was on its last leg after COVID. It's really hard to run a therapeutic recreation program during COVID and wearing masks and getting them to understand that. So the program had kind of just not been doing really well, didn't have great attendance, and they were really stuck doing like the same 6 set of activities. So I came in and just kind of revamped it, redid partnerships with Virginia State University with our volunteers. We had students who were in a wide range of degrees. So it was really anything that was like health and wellness, and anything that was recreation, or even like health and PE teachers. It was just like this Mod Podge of people, and most of the students had never worked with people with disabilities. So we kind of redid like our volunteer orientation and how that looked, and how I worked with the professors behind the scenes to send out information and to get students involved and things like that. But one of the other biggest challenges when I came into that program was there was this financial barrier. And a lot of the participants were on a fixed income, and we were charging anywhere from $3 to $5, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it was every single week, and the price kind of fluctuated. And eventually we had a parent come up and say, hey, I know so-and-so would love to come, but they're having to pick and choose between, the enrichment opportunities that they're doing this month. And so they can only come one Wednesday out of the month. And the only thing holding them back is the price, the fee. It's not transportation. It's not availability. It's not interest. It's none of that. It's that they can't afford it. And it really made us pause and think about it, because on our end, like, we thought $3 to $5 was really cheap. And then I started looking at the budget and, crunching numbers and realizing we weren't making any money off this program. We were barely recouping cost. So I kind of was like, why don't we start looking for other financial opportunities to fund this, whether that's grants, it's sponsorships, it's fundraisers. It was a beloved community program. Our mayor used to come, like city officials would come and partake with us. It was really valued in the community, and to hear that people couldn't access it was, for me, so heartbreaking. And so what wound up happening was we applied for a few grants. We got one, and that covered about half the cost to run the program for free for a full year. And so then I started canvassing with our assistant director, organizations and businesses in the community, people that had ties to that city and that community. And we raised enough money through sponsorship to fund a whole year free. And so that was another award we won, was making that program inclusive and accessible to all and eliminating that financial barrier. And so the first year we really just got what we needed to make ends meet. The second year, we got another grant. We got a large donation from a local organization. And then we had a fundraiser through Chick-fil-A. And that year, we wound up raising $2,000 extra that we didn't need.
Mm.
And that was so exciting because I got to take them on trips and pay for them. So I got to take them to the zoo and to a baseball game and to a science museum and a children's museum. And it was free. And we provided transportation for families. So like families could drop off their participant and we would drive them and pay for their stuff. And so that was just like that program just continued building, continued getting financial support. And, it was great. It was so fun to go back to city council every year and give that report and, share that award. Sometimes share pictures of the mayor doing limbo with us because that was like a hot topic.
Yeah.
So that program, making it free, making it accessible, that wound up winning a state award through the Virginia Association as well. And then the last one that we won kind of with that program was AJ McCage wound up being an adjunct professor at Virginia State University. And she came to me and said, hey, I want to have kind of a graded project be that my students plan, run, and evaluate a program, and I would like for them to do it for the therapeutic participants. So, we'll advertise to them, we'll market it to them, and we put it on our social media and everything. And her students did exactly that. They planned a fall art class for, whoever signed up. We wound up having 20 to 22 participants sign up and come to that program. And her students ran everything. And we supplied the materials, but they came in, they ran it, they got that experience. They got to see how sometimes you have to really adapt and be flexible with your programs and meet your participants where they're at. And just kind of like on the fly, you have to do that as a programmer. And then they got a chance to evaluate it, to talk about like what they would have changed, what they felt went really well, things like that. So it was a great experience for them. It was a great experience for us because my participants that I had pretty much every week, I was there, so it was still familiar to them, but they got to have someone else run a program for them and got to see a different style of presenting and, different activities and things like that. And then we also gained new participants from that. So we had families sign up that never came to our Wednesday program because they didn't realize it applied to them, but they came to this one and then they started coming weekly to our program. So it was a great way to get, our community connected and just really a great opportunity to have young people and students get connected to their community in that way. And so all three of those won different awards, and they won in 3 different years, I think, or maybe 2 years. I don't remember. But it was just a joy to have those programs run and to know that at the root they benefited the community. And the bonus was winning an award and getting recognized on a state level. That's really great. And like I said, that was a great thing to take back to city council and be like, hey, this is why, I asked for X, Y, and Z, or why I ask you to show up to these programs to experience them. But if they never won the award, that would have been totally okay too, because I know like at the root, it really benefited the people in our community and it really got us connected to our parks and to different resources in the community.
I love how you've kind of involved a lot of your elected officials. And I don't know if that was on purpose or they just showed up, but maybe if you were, imagine if you were standing in front of a group of elected officials that really don't understand what programming is, how would you kind of define it to them to let them know the benefits of programming in their parks?
I would say it's the experience. it's a program, yes, which is kind of like a lesson plan or going to school, but it's giving them an experience, whether that's learning about nature or that's trying a new activity, or it's even if it's just coming out and playing bingo, it's giving them an experience, it's giving them a community, a network of other people that are signed up for it. And so it's really this web, it connects everything kind of in your area through these programs. And I think that is what gets lost in translation sometimes, is that it can have all these other effects, and it can have, it can be really important for social interaction. It can be really important for learning, for, developing skills, developing a lot of different things in our children, in adults, and people with disabilities. But programs are so inclusive, and they're all about having an experience and really connecting your community together.
Fantastic. Okay, so shifting gears a little, you said you were a part of the Leadership Training Institute. Can you explain what that is to somebody that might not be familiar with it?
It's the Leadership Development Network.
Okay.
So the Leadership Development Network is a community through NRPA, and we provide topics every month, different topics that kind of help a Parks and Rec professional, no matter where they are, become more of a rounded leader. So it might expose you to topics that you don't currently do in your role, but you might have an interest in, or you might know nothing about, but you come and you learn and you participate. So, some of it could be like succession planning or budgets, things like that you might not deal with on a day-to-day, but it helps make you more of a rounded leader and professional. And the biggest thing about it is networking. It is about connecting you with other people in the profession, and people who are at all different levels in the profession with so many different experiences, so that you have resources, you have people that you can go to and talk about issues. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel when you're trying to plan a program, when you're trying to write a policy, anything like that. It's just really this network that is dedicated to all park professionals and being a resource to you. And so how you use that is kind of, up to you. If you just want to come and get information, and that's how it's a resource to you, you can do that. If you want to come and get connected with people that are on the call and ask them, questions, or connect with them after the call, you can do that as well. It's just this really great resource for any NRPA member. And our meetings are recorded. So if you can never meet with us in person, you can always check out the recording and hear from a speaker and gain some of that insight or gain some knowledge.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. This has been a great interview. We have a little tradition kind of coming towards the end of our show, where one of our previous guests left a question for our next guest, which is you.
Okay.
All right. So here's the question left to you by Joseph Jerkovic over in city of Dallas. He says, if you could do any other role in Parks and Rec aside from the one that you're doing now, what would it be and why?
Ooh. If I could do anything, I would do park maintenance, because those are the people that keep the whole system running and keep the public happy. And I think if I could just do it for like 6 months to a year, my understanding of Parks and Rec would change vastly. And I also think my appreciation for Parks and Rec would really change. But yeah, I think it would be that. I think there's so many interesting things to learn in that faucet and like that world of park maintenance. And they get to do some really cool projects and be involved in some really cool things. They also sometimes have to do some like not so great projects, or have to work out in the heat or the snow or whatever. But park maintenance is so fascinating to me, because it is what keeps your facilities running. Those are the individuals that, yeah, really keep it running, and I think really have a good pulse on the public.
Yeah. That's crazy. That was your answer, because that's exactly what Joseph does for City of Dallas. He has
Really?
yeah,
Maybe I should connect with him.
he has like 35 team members, and I think there's 4 or 5. Of course, City of Dallas is such a big Parks and Rec department, but that's all he does is make sure all the facilities get cut and clean and prepared for the next special event, and they're just kind of behind the scenes making the parks look beautiful. So what would be your question you'd like to leave from our next guest?
What fictional character best represents your current role with your agency?
I love this. What fictional character best, what was that last part?
Best represents your current role with your agency.
Okay, I'd love to hear your answer to that one.
My answer?
Yeah.
I would say Mrs. Frizzle.
Who's that?
From is it like the Magic School Bus? I think that's what it's called. But she's like the teacher that takes the kids on all these wild adventures. Like one of them is they go inside the human body and learn how the human body works. But she just like personality is me. Her dress is kind of me as well. She has like an iguana with her all the time. I just think like currently that's who I would identify with.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's a great question. I can't wait to ask that to my next guest. Well, Hannah, thank you so much. Yeah. It's crazy the answers and the questions that we get from the industry. They're so insightful. All right. Well, Hannah, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your journey in Parks and Rec and all the stuff you've learned around programming and building community. I really appreciate all the work that you're doing for your community. Keep up the great work.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Oh, well, great having you on the show, and have a great rest of your week.
Thanks. You too.
Yeah. Take care, Hannah. Bye.
Bye.
All right. So that was another, I love how we get to kind of pull the curtain back and really dig deep into what it means to build a community. And I was really shocked at how Hannah just really could define it so well, even though she's only been in Parks and Rec for 5 years. But everyone knows 5 years in Parks and Rec sometimes can seem like 50 years because you're just working nonstop to build your community. And thank you so much for sharing those few award-winning programs that you've participated in building from scratch and then keeping them going. There really are just some amazing programs that are running across the country. And I think that's one thing we can do here well with the Daily Parks and Rec show is just to get the word out around what programs are really succeeding across the country so that you can kind of just give Hannah a call and get the playbook on some successful program and run that same program throughout the city, because it's really the opportunity is almost infinite of what you can do to build your community through programming. And Hannah's just a great example of that. All right, so hang tight. We've got our next show coming up with Dave Ramirez, and the owner of Outdoor Link is going to be the guest on his show. And I'm going to stop by and say hello to DJ, because not only are they one of our great sponsors here for DPRS Media Network, but they're also doing a really good job helping Parks and Rec departments become smart cities. And so our next show, starting here in just a few minutes, is going to be the Smart Parks Forward show. So if you're on the infrastructure side and looking to update your infrastructure into this new age of connectivity, you definitely don't want to miss this one. So hang tight, and we'll be back with you here shortly. That's a wrap, Joby. Thanks, guys. Bye.
It didn't start with a big studio. It didn't start with a massive audience. It started with a simple idea. One conversation, one camera, one episode. Back then, DPRS Media Network was just a vision. No guarantees, no roadmap, just a purpose. To tell stories that mattered. Stories from the Parks and Recreation community. Stories of leadership, passion, impact, and the people making a difference every single day. Episode by episode, that vision began to grow. More conversations, more voices, more people who believed in what we were building. What started as a show became something much bigger. A place where people felt seen, a place where ideas were shared, a place where the Parks and Rec community could connect, learn, and inspire one another. And today, we celebrate a major milestone. 500 episodes, 500 stories, 500 moments, 500 reasons to keep moving forward. But this is not the finish line. This is the beginning of our next chapter. In the months ahead and in the years to come, DPRS Media Network is growing into something even greater. We are building something truly special for the Parks and Recreation community. Something designed to bring people closer, to create stronger connections, to open new opportunities, and to continue serving the people who inspire everything we do. We are also expanding our reach through new partnerships, working with organizations who believe in our mission, partners who share our vision for community, leadership, and impact. And beyond the screen, we're showing up in more places than ever before, attending conferences, meeting leaders face-to-face, building connections that strengthen our community. Because DPRS has never been just about content. It has always been about connection. To everyone who has been with us, from episode 1 to episode 500, thank you. This milestone belongs to all of you. Here's to how it all started. And here's to everything still to come. The future of DPRS Media Network starts now.
In the parks and recreation industry, attention is limited, but influence is everything. Every day, thousands of parks and recreation professionals make critical decisions. Decisions on infrastructure, programs, technology, and vendors. The question is your brand part of that conversation? DPRS Media Network was built to answer that question. We are a dedicated media ecosystem focused exclusively on the parks and recreation industry in the United States. Through a network of daily and weekly shows, we inform, connect, and influence this audience. Our distribution spans multiple platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, plus email campaigns, newsletters, podcasts, and live event coverage. This is not a single-channel strategy. It is a multi-platform media engine. Today, our network reaches over 214,000 connections, including 51,000 on LinkedIn, 64,000 on Facebook, nearly 40,000 email subscribers, and thousands more across podcast and social platforms. While some audiences overlap, our true value is not just reach, it is relevance. We speak directly to parks and recreation directors, program managers, and industry leaders, an audience that is highly targeted and actively engaged. Through DPRS Media Network, your brand integrates seamlessly into this ecosystem. Through sponsored show segments, targeted advertisement placements, podcast features, and host-read promotions, even custom branded content. Not as interruptions, but as part of the conversation. And we don't just operate online. We attend over 15 major parks and recreation conventions each year, reaching more than 24,000 professionals in person. Through live shows, interviews, and on-site media coverage, we position our partners at the center of the industry. Every piece of content we produce is amplified across our entire network. Multiple shows, multiple hosts, multiple platforms. Your message doesn't appear once, it multiplies. This is more than advertising. It is strategic positioning,
within a trusted media network built specifically for the parks and recreation industry. If your goal is to reach decision makers, build credibility, and stay top of mind, then it's time to partner with DPRS Media Network. Apply for partnership or sponsorship today. Let's position your brand where the industry is already paying attention.